Good evening, YouTube. You guys are now watching another segment of the TheCaliEffect, King of Games. And today I'm going to be doing something completely different. I've never done this on my channel. I am going to be reaching out to you guys, my core subscribers, my A1 since day ones, the guys that actually want to know about the TheCaliEffect, King of Games. This is going to be a pretty hard series for me. I've actually did a lot of postponing because I'm not the type of person to, talk about myself or, explain myself or even, give out personal information like this. Like my Facebook name isn't even my real name and people still think that. So, I mean, it's going to be a little bit hard for me, but I really hope you guys understand. So, okay, the first thing, I'm actually going to talk about that Facebook name. The first name that you guys see is actually my middle name, and the last name you guys see is what everybody called me when I moved to Las Vegas. My real name, I was born Marcus Leon Brown Jr. in Panama, California. If you guys don't know where Panama is, I think it's actually the next closest city. It's around in the southern Los Angeles, not southern Los Angeles. South, look, I'm just gonna be real with y'all niggas. This is by Compton, for real. It's like that's where I lived for I want to say a couple years of my birth. Which I hate when people say that Compton's like, oh, Compton's bad, because periodically we would go to Compton, and Compton it's nice. I mean, if you grew up in the situation that I grew up in, you'd want to live in Compton. Because Compton, while gang violence is everywhere, bullshit is going to happen everywhere you go, Compton is like an extraordinarily nice place. It has houses, and I'm going to be so real with y'all. For me, I didn't even know there was a such thing as like a real upstairs and downstairs house, like houses with stairs, until I moved out here in Las Vegas. I didn't know that pools were in almost every backyard until I moved to Las Vegas. I mean, out here is kind of crazy. In Compton, while I don't remember any upstairs, downstairs houses, but Compton had pools in their backyard. To me and my sisters growing up, that was, you were the shit. Okay, so I grew up with two other sisters, both of them older than me, Isis and Adore, and I love my eldest sister to death. She was like, she was like a mother to me when my mother wasn't there because she had to work so much. My father, I'm more in contact with him now than I ever was before in my life. He wasn't there. He was like borderline there, if you know what I mean. He was one of those dudes that would pop up and pretend like be a part-time dad type shit, if you guys know what I mean. He never really was there for me. And even when we did, or times that I would go over his house, the only thing I would do was play PlayStation. I mean, he literally, it was so awkward between us, which it still is to this day. We would sit in the room and just sit. No correlation between us. At this time, I didn't have a passion for football, but at this time I wanted to be a scientist and some other shit. And he was so obsessed with cars and I actually liked soccer growing up, which me growing up around certain people made me like soccer so much. He did not like sports whatsoever, which is crazy because the dude ran track. And we were just so polar opposites from the beginning, and we just never really meshed, and we still don't. Another thing, I grew up in so many diverse areas. My mother and my family, we moved a lot, whether it was we couldn't afford it. We've been in a homeless shelter quite a few times. I've slept on the street. This is separate from, not all of us slept. Did we sleep I think we slept in the car a couple times, but that's beside the point. We lived in motels, and I've slept on the street, like the street, quite a few times. So, and when you move around so much and you go through so much, it brings you around so many different people and makes you the person who I am today. People say that, oh, you're from, South Central LA, you don't speak like them, you don't talk like them, you don't walk like them, you don't act like them. Well, I kid you not, this is how we act. I'm not saying every single one of us sounds the way that I sound because, like I said, I grew up in diverse neighborhoods, but there's a lot of guys that, do the worst. I mean, gang bang, rob niggas, do all that shit. And these guys are fucking smart as shit. And they have things for themselves, but they didn't have the opportunities that I had. And even if they did have the opportunities, they might not have had the know-it-all to what to do with it. So, with that being said, I grew up in so many different neighborhoods. I think one I want to talk about in specific, there's a couple I'm going to talk about, but one I want to talk about in specific was Long Beach. And the Long Beach was an experience. Long Beach, I grew up around what you guys would say white kids. And to be honest with you guys, those white kids ain't white kids. I mean, like, their pigmentation might be white, but they not, it's just like, they were a different type of white people than what I experienced out here. Not saying that all white people were the same, or even, these white people are bad or those white people are bad. They just have a different vibe, and it's probably because they're from California, and Nevadans are typically from everywhere else. But growing up there, it was an interesting experience, because when you do grow up in, it wasn't a terrible neighborhood. If you guys have ever been to Long Beach or are from Long Beach, I grew up right around the corner from where Roscoe's is in downtown Long Beach, like right by Long Beach. You could walk to both of those. I grew up off of like West 5th Street or some shit like that. And so it wasn't a bad neighborhood. It was a pretty decent neighborhood, probably the best neighborhood I had growing up. And when you do grow up in neighborhoods like that, you are awarded certain privileges, like actual teachers that care, and like I'm talking about the majority of the staff that actually cares and people that want you to succeed. And there were a lot of Asians and white people in that school. Now that I recall, there was this one girl. She's a pretty important person to this, because it literally just dawned upon me. I want to say after I got out of high school that she liked me. It was her, my two cousins, Robert and TT. I want to say my youngest sister, not my youngest sister, the sister right above me, because I have three sisters now that are biologically, my sisters. The sister right above me, and I don't remember my eldest sister going to that school, but it would make sense because I think she's maybe like 5 years older than me. So it would make sense that she was in middle school at that time. So this school was dominantly white and Asian. And I don't know if my sisters or my cousins had this same type of thing. Actually, I'm pretty confident that my cousin didn't have any of these problems. Because my cousin, he was just a cool kid. You know what I mean? He was that black guy that was really good at sports and everybody liked. Because he always had like the freshest stuff. Even though, when you go to a school like that, they don't really care about looks or anything. But he was just like the cool guy. My sister was extremely good at tetherball, so anytime PE came around, tetherball was something you don't want to play against her. I fucking hate playing that bitch in tetherball and checkers. That's two things I will never play her with ever. And then my cousin, the lady TT, I don't even know what the hell happened to her. She just never seemed to have problems, or at least they didn't express their problems. With me, my problem with that school was I was too smart. And what I mean by that is that, okay, so they would teach us something. And this was my problem with school, period. They would teach us something, and I would learn it like that. And since I learned it like that, everybody else is still trying to learn it. It normally takes, I think we would split up, the day into hours or hours and a half or whatever. It normally takes them a little longer to learn it. So keep in mind, I am a hyperactive ass black kid with never really had many toys or anything, so I make toys out of everything. I remember playing with a corkscrew as a toy, so, growing up. So, and that was one of my favorite toys. Shit was hey, that corkscrew monster was the best. But when you get a kid that learns so fast and everyone else around him is still learning, you're just gonna fuck around. And that was a huge problem that I had in growing up in school, is that I learned so quick that it was nothing else to do. Everybody was still trying to learn, and I'm just like, let's do something. I'm bored. And I want to say that a lot of the kids resented me because I caught on to things so fast, and it was relatively easy for me to do something. The teacher would get mad at me because he'd be like, show your work, show your work, show your work, and I just give the answer. It's like, because it felt so dumb for me to show my work. I already knew the answer. I looked at it and I can provide with you an answer. It was so easy for me to write stories, because even at young, I was writing books on books on books of stories. I used to have like books this thick of stories, like full-blown stories of 3 boys that could turn Super Saiyan and do all this other stuff with pictures and everything. And I think that a lot of the kids did not like me because I was extremely intelligent and didn't take myself seriously. And that's where the part of diversity comes in, because I dealt with these people with better education, or I got the better education and dealt with these people that also had better education, but they didn't like me. They would often call me stuff like Germany. They'd call me a nigger, obviously, blackie. And I'd have to deal with that shit day in and day out. Actually, I still remember this kid's face. He hated my guts. I don't even know why. I think it's because, if you guys remember the little math thing where you'd have to write all the math, the little math answers down or whatever, I would always get first. And he would get like second or third or whatever, but I would always just be first. And then I'd just be like, fucking off and shit. But I remember him telling me I would never amount to anything in my life and I should just go kill myself. And you got to think, this was probably around the 4th grade. That's a little much for a 4th grader. I understand where their hate has came from, but I felt that all at the same time. It was just, it was not natural for people to have so much hate for, we're all kids. I'm not saying that I was bad at sports, but my cousin was better, and he was really good at sports. And I didn't necessarily know anything about sports. I just knew how to play kickball. So that was my experience with that type of neighborhood. So people ask me, like, why do I talk like this and all that? But I hugely attribute that to that school and how it, taught. Because even though it was slow as shit, I still learned it. Like, I learned proper grammar through going to that school, where other people that I grew up in later in life didn't have that type of structure. And then we moved to East Los Angeles. And anybody that knows East Los Angeles, Mexicans. They're not Hispanic, all right? And the reason why I say they're not Hispanic is because they are Galaxy fans and Chivas fans, all right? They Mexican. I mean, it's a possibility some of them could be Hispanic, but still. I grew up in East LA as a part of my life too, and then I would still go to the International Elementary School in Long Beach, and I would have to take the train. I'd have to wake up early in the morning, hop on the train, take the train all the way there, and then take the train all the way back. I would take it with my sister, but we getting, like, literally, as soon as we out the door, me and my sister different ways. Me and my sister never really got along. Me and my middle sister, my sister Adore, we never got along. So she would either be walking ahead or I'd be walking whatever, and we just, we take our own thing. So that's a pretty big responsibility for somebody in my age. And the neighborhood that I grew in, it was, it was shit. Literally, Google 76th in Montgomery and go to Google Maps. It hasn't really changed. The place is the hood. We were the only black people again in that neighborhood, because what had happened was my great-grandmother owned the house in the front. There was like a little shack in the back that we stayed in, but my grandma owned the house, or great-grandma owned the house in the front. And as time evolved, that just became where the Mexican people or Hispanic people lived. And soon enough, that whole area was just all Mexicans. They didn't give me too much trouble when it came to race. They accepted me a lot. And their mothers would treat me like I'm their kid. They'd make food, and we'd go out and we'd play. We played a lot of soccer. I literally think I'm good at soccer because I played so much soccer. I think I'd have 2 left feet when it comes to walking if I didn't play so much damn soccer. And I like the Chivas a lot too. We used to watch their games. We used to have a lot of fun. And growing up with, I guess I'm gonna call them, growing up with Mexicans has been, it was a blast. I learned a lot of Spanish, and I learned a lot of things from, you know, growing up with white people and Asians too. So I guess in essence, what I'm trying to say is my background, even though I did grow up in some very bad parts, and I have a lot of stories for that too that I want to share with you guys. But even though I grew up in some very bad parts, I am who I am. I grew up in an all-black neighborhood later. I grew up in Mexican neighborhoods. I grew up in white neighborhoods. And I think it really allowed me to, you know, it really changed me as a person. It really made me as a better person because I see a lot of racial barriers going wrong. And I feel like I can talk to anybody. I feel like everybody, no matter what skin color you are, you can be my friend because, or, you know, or we can be cool because not only have I, especially the Mexican culture, not only have I been a part of your culture, I've lived, ate, breathed, learned, and slept. Well, not slept. Yeah, actually, no, I had a couple of sleepovers and stuff. And slept with those people. So, yeah, I know all about mama getting a chancla to knock your ass out. And I also know about Connor going into timeout and being on strike 6. But I think that's all the time we have for today. I really hope you guys enjoy this series. We're going to get a lot deeper. I just wanted to start off with, like, you know, a small intro, you know, slight things, just talking about a little bit about my background. And I really hope you guys have gotten in contact with me or gotten in connection with me. If you guys have any questions, just post them down below. If you guys like this series, just tell me you like it. If you don't, then I don't know what to tell you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and most of all, enjoy.